Oh, well, we can first start.
Good evening and welcome to our September board meeting. We're delighted to see our crowd tonight. Thank you all for coming. The Board of Trustees of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District is now convened in a regular meeting on Monday, September 12th, 2016 in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, 10300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas at 6 p.m. or shortly thereafter. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 to 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on CFTV Channel 16 and CFTV online on the district website. They will also be rebroadcast throughout the month on Channel 16 and available as video on demand on the website. For the tape to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that all cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. We have a couple of dignitaries in our audience I'd like to introduce to you. Our first is our state representative, Dwayne Bohack. Representative Bohack, will you stand and wave so everyone can acknowledge you? We also have a couple of Boy Scouts that are earning badges, Benjamin Lovejoy of Troop 200 and Nicholas Winkleman of 1283. Would you two stand so we can acknowledge you? We also have our community leadership group, Emily Donaldson with Community Impact News, and Leslie Martone with the Cy-Fair Houston Chamber of Commerce. Ladies, please stand. Oh, I'm sorry. Evelyn, I should have seen that too. Evelyn Wilson, will you stand too as a member of our community leadership group? At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to Dr. Henry. He has a special message.
Thank you, Madam President, trustees, audience members. Yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the most defining event in our country over the last 75 years. Many lives were lost on that clear Tuesday morning 15 years ago. Since then, hundreds of thousands of lives have been lost, and many have suffered injuries in the defense of freedom. From that tragedy, however, thousands of acts of heroism, kindness, and sacrifice have been offered on behalf of others. As we solemnize this meeting this evening, I hope you will pause and remember all of those affected by the 9/11 Those sound effects were not intended. I hope you will pause and remember all of those affected by the 9/11 tragedy and how blessed we are to live in a country that values all lives and freedoms. Please stand and join me in a moment of silence, followed by our pledge to the American flag. Cy-Fair High School Junior ROTC cadets presenting the flag are Cadet Captain Jessica McDonald, Cadet Major Leslie Sanchez, Cadet First Lieutenant Kylie McMahon, and Cadet Captain Anthony Mahoney. Sponsors are Captain Scott Thomas and Senior Master Sergeant Michael Claiborne. If you would, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much.
Alex Art and Alex. Alex E. Alex. O Art. Art. Oats. Olive Art. Oats. 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 Present. Arms. Words. Words. Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oats. Olive Art. Oats. All out.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one nation, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Dr. Henry, and thank you to the Cy-Fair Junior ROTC program. Board Member Christine Hartley will read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience.
Thank you. Our vision statement: learn, empower, achieve, dream, lead. Our mission statement: maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
Thank you, Ms. Hartley. We will now move on to the special recognitions portion of the agenda, and I'll call on Dr. Henry again.
Thank you, Madam President, trustees. Once again, Cypress-Fairbanks ISD is the largest district in the state to have all eligible schools receive the MET standard or MET alternative standard designations. This is the highest rating possible available by TEA. In fact, on top of that, we had 222 academic distinctions spread across our 82 campuses that were rated. More than 100 Cypress-Fairbanks ISD graduates celebrated earning scholarships valued at $353,000 at the Cy-Fair Educational Foundation 2016 scholarship reception at the Berry Center in August. The CFEF, which has awarded more than $6 million in scholarships to 1,300 CFISD graduates since its inception in 1970, welcomed families of the 107 winners to the annual event. 7 CFISD high schools were recognized among the top 30 in Houston for their high SAT scores in a report published by the Houston Chronicle. The report featured the following CFISD campuses: Cy Woods, Cy Fair, Cy Ranch, Cy Creek, Langham Creek, Jersey Village, and Cy Falls High School. A football helmet design created by CFISD art coordinator Lee Carrier was selected by the Houston Super Bowl host committee as one of the 51 helmets that will represent Super Bowl 51 in its upcoming touchdown tour. The Cypress Creek High School drumline and Silverado's drill team provided an energetic welcome home for Chris Brooks and Sarah Robles during an early morning celebration at the Intercontinental Airport on August 24th. They arrived at the airport from Rio de Janeiro to a terminal full of percussion and choreography, courtesy of dozens of Cy Creek student musicians and performers. Swimmer Camille Adams emerged from the pool on August 10th at the Olympic Aquatic Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, achieving a personal best 200-meter butterfly time, and then 1 week later she reported for her first day of student teaching at Copeland Elementary School. Cypress Falls High School head volleyball coach Kathy Stevenson was recognized for her 600th career victory prior to the Golden Eagles District 17-6A home opener against Langham Creek on August 24th. The American Volleyball Coaches Association recognized the Cypress Woods High School volleyball team with the 2015-16 AVCA Team Academic Award. The award honors teams that have matched their dedication to the sport of volleyball with excellence in the classroom. Cy Woods has earned the AVCA Team Academic Award 10 consecutive seasons. In other words, every year since they opened in 2006. Roy Garcia will now make an introduction of a new principal.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. President Mingoya and Board of Trustees, I am excited to introduce to you and to the Cypress-Fairbanks community our new principal at Hancock Elementary School, Mrs. Lissa Archuleta. I will share some information about Lissa and then provide her the opportunity to address the board and to introduce any guests that she may have present tonight. Lissa received her Bachelor of Science from Texas State University, her Master of Education from Texas A&M University at Commerce, and her principal certification from the University of St. Thomas. Lissa has 21 years in the education profession. She served as a teacher in Kaufman, Huntsville, Katy, and Mesquite ISD. She also served as a testing coordinator and district curriculum instructional specialist in Mesquite ISD. She joined Cypress-Fairbanks in 2012 as an assistant principal at Haregrove Elementary. She has also served as a CFISD summer school principal. When Lissa is not working, she enjoys spending time with her family, just enjoying each other, she shared. Lissa and her husband, Chris, have 2 daughters, Kendall and Scarlett. Kendall is a 2015 Cy Woods graduate, and Scarlett is a 4th grader at Swinkie Elementary. Please join me in congratulating Lissa on her new leadership assignment.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, Ms. Mongoya, Dr. Henry, pardon me, I'm nervous, and the Board of Trustees. I appreciate so much you allowing me to serve in CFISD in this manner. You've entrusted me to be a principal, and I take it very seriously. I'm so excited that my staff is here tonight and are celebrating me, as well as I have some teachers from Haregrove that have come to support me as well, so I appreciate that. I also want to thank the leaders that have supported in me and believed in me with this journey that I'm on, and then will continue to support me as I go through. I appreciate all of your help. I did bring my family. Husband's in the back. That's man, a few words, but he's here. And then I have my daughter Scarlett, like Mr. Garcia said, and Kendall. And then my mom, who came in from Dallas. So I appreciate them coming to support me. Again, thank you so much. I cannot tell you just how amazing this position's already been. I've been there for, I guess, 3 weeks, 4. And I've already grown to love my staff, and we've become a family, and we are going to have a fantastic year. So thank you so much.
Well, welcome. We are so excited for you and know you're going to enjoy your time at Hancock. As is our tradition, we are going to take about a 5-minute break so that we can congratulate our new principal, and then we'll be back with board comments and citizens' participation. Thank you. We're going to get started in just a minute. All right, we're ready to get started, please. We're now at the section of our agenda on board comments. Any board member may make a comment during this portion of the agenda without prior posting being required. Comment items may not pertain to the character of any student, staff, or board member and may not be discussed or deliberated upon at this time. Ms. Blackshear, you want to start at this end?
Wanted to commend our campuses and transportation people and all of those who worked so hard and so diligently to get our new school year off to such a great start. And I want to give a special shout out to Hemingway Elementary School. I was a bus buddy there on the first day of school, and there were only two of us, myself and a mother who had just over the summer moved from San Antonio to Cy-Fair. And what impressed me most was, since there were only two bus buddies, the teachers volunteered from that school to be bus buddies and rode the buses home with the students. And that first week of school, I'm sure, is pretty rough. And I'm sure on that first day of school, they were just looking forward to getting finished at the end of the day and tidying up their classrooms and heading home. But these teachers who love what they live and cared for their students took the time to ride the buses with their students to make sure that they all arrived home safely. And I think that is tremendous and want to commend them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Mr. Covey?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First, the beginning of school was just awesome. The leadership conference we had before school started, and then the new teacher orientation. I have to do accolades to our communication department, put together some of the most enjoyable presentations. It was just amazing. And actually, Dr. Henry is an actor, and we didn't know it, but he's kind of a Class B actor, but he's doing well as far as that goes. I did want to comment on something because we have two things coming up, and one of them is the Business Education Forum that we talked about back in the spring. The Business Education Forum is sponsored by TASB, the Texas Association of School Boards, who decided to take this on the road, and we are having discussions. We're having a meeting on October the 27th at the Berry Center. Cy-Fair is acting as a host, but we have about 8 other districts who are participating in the panels, and we are hopeful that anywhere from 20 to 30 of the districts in this area will be showing up. Representative Bohack, you're certainly invited to come and listen to the success stories that businesses have done with school districts, also faith-based community, and also our Chamber of Commerce's and different organizations around. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm real hopeful we get over 250 people there, because then we will actually outdo San Antonio that had theirs in May. So that's my goal, is to outdo them. That's just a competitive spirit of mine. And then the last thing I want to mention is we have 21 districts in our Gulf Coast area that are beginning, or we are an entity now in the state of Texas, and it's called Go Public Gulf Coast, positively promoting public school education in the Gulf Coast area. you're going to be hearing more about it because we feel like our legislators don't hear enough good things about our districts. And this is one way we can get it out to not only our legislators, but as y'all all know, we are about 70+% of people in our community that don't have children in school right now and may not know what's going on. So our whole idea with these 21 districts that have already signed up is to get that information out in front of the public in the Houston, the Gulf Coast area. So be watching for that. Go Public Gulf Coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. Mr. Jackson?
I made my full complement of stops both within the district as well as the community. I applaud the CLC for their work today on legislative issues leading up to their summary decisions. Long before I was a trustee, I have given patriotic and historical presentations in various districts. For years in a neighboring district, I have taught founding history at the 8th grade level. For 6 periods, the students were tested on my material and I was evaluated over their outcomes. For the first time in Cy-Fair, I taught 6 classes on the Founding Fathers as curriculum enrichment to high school seniors in their required government class. The start of 2.5 days of preparation with Section 113.44 of the TEKS to identify what the state of Texas required. From there, I used textbook study guides and respected authors to prepare for 45 minutes of class time. It was exhaustingly satisfying, but renewed the profound respect that I have for our teachers in this district, but also across the entire state. Last month, I spoke of the individuals who gave me assistance on the preparation of my pre-K research and presentation for the upcoming state convention. Tonight, I would like to say thank you to the video and static stars who appear in the presentation. Director of Community Programs, Christina Perez, ELC Director Gloria Peroni, Francone Principal Dr. Tonya Gore, pre-K teacher Laura Elizabeth, and Holbrook Principal Yvette Garcia. I would also mention that on a static slide, Representative Bohawk also makes a debut as well, and I appreciate his support of pre-K in the state of Texas. And so tonight, I tip my hat to those who teach us of our founding fathers, founding mothers, and founding documents, plus those involved at all levels with the various pre-K programs in our district.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Ms. Hartley?
Yes, I would like to, kind of going along with what Mr. Covey said, we don't always hear about the great things that are going on in public education, and I know that there are some great things happening in public education and right here in Cy-Fair ISD. So I want to give a shout out to all the schools that rallied after the Louisiana floods. And I know Woods NHS reached out to me. Salyards and Cy Falls put together a supply drive, and we're taking those over there. And I know we have other things, shoe donations, sock donations. Our students like to give to those who need it. And I just want to give a shout out to all those teachers and staff and students who think about that and rally to the cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hartley. Dr. Ogletree?
I'm just excited about this school year, and our church had our block party at Francone Elementary right before the first day of school, and to just interface with those students and parents, and to see the staff and under the leadership of Dr. Goree, it was just encouraging, and I know that spreads and all over this district. And I agree with Bob, the leadership this year, the leadership at conference at the Berry Center was very encouraging, and the new employees, I just know it's going to be a great year for us, and I wish everyone, and we'll be praying for every campus, every student, every administrator. This is going to be a great year. Bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. I wanted to introduce a Boy Scout that I forgot to introduce, and that is Ryan Hathcock from Troop 84. Ryan, will you stand up so that we can give you a round of applause? I also wanted to mention that Bus Buddies was a wonderful experience, and if you haven't had a chance to do that, I hope you will do it. It occurs the first couple of days of the school year, and it helps those pre-K, K, and first graders get off at the right stop and make sure that they get connected with their mom or guardian as they get off that bus. I too am very happy to have the school year underway and anticipate a great school year and look forward to seeing great results at the end of the year in May, when I know that we will be more successful than ever. At this time, we'd like to do our citizens participation. Patrons who have duly registered per policy BED local may address the board regarding matters of concern or interest to the district other than the character of any student, staff, or board member. I would like to remind the audience and the viewers that the comments of the speakers reflect their own positions or opinions. The board may not discuss or act upon any matter that is not listed under the action item portion of the agenda. Therefore, board members may not discuss the comments of the speakers. Please understand that a lack of response from board members does not indicate agreement or approval of the comments. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Bob Covey, Secretary of the Board, will be our designated timekeeper. We're going to be using this podium on my right, and you will see a green light at first. When you have 30 seconds, we hope you'll see a yellow light, and when it's time to stop and wind up your comments with just another sentence or two, you'll see a red light. Now, we've been having a bit of trouble with that yellow light, so Mr. Covey will interrupt and say you have 30 seconds left.
It's not me.
Yes, it's not Mr. Covey. I want to assure you of that. We have 5 speakers tonight. Our first speaker is Alan D. Vera.
Good evening. I'm Alan Vera. I'm a native Hispanic Texan and an Army Airborne Ranger Vietnam vet. I've been a tax-paying resident of the district since 1984. That's 32 years for those of you using Common Core math. I'd like to add a little perspective on the impact of the Cypress-Fairbanks School Board on the Texas legislature. I'm a grassroots activist and had a very successful mission in the last session. This board contributed to that success. One of the bills we co-authored and supported would make it mandatory for every taxing entity holding elections to proactively send mail ballots to every qualified voter in the district without the voter having to request it. During the committee hearings, it was touch and go for this bill. Strong arguments pro and con. We were finally able to testify how the Cypress-Fairbanks School Board had effectively disenfranchised tens of thousands of elderly and disabled voters in the district in the 2014 bond election. We used your data and that of the county clerk's office. That tipped the scales on the bill. It's now law. Thank you. Another bill on the use and abuse of mobile polls for elections was also meeting resistance. Finally, we simply handed the members of the respective House and Senate committees copies of the Cypress-Fairbanks Board's schedule of operation for the mobile polls used in the 2014 bond election. That broke things open. We got most of what we wanted. Thank you again. With that background, we come to the issue of audible prayer at the start of the Cypress-Fairbanks Board meetings. Seems to me we have a board of very intelligent trustees who just may never have read Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And without that knowledge, you quietly surrendered to the use of rule number 9 by an anonymous source with a thinly veiled threat to tattle on you to the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the FFRF. In my circles, they're called F-Troop for good reason. We're intrigued by the stealth-like manner and speed in which the decision to delete the opening prayer was reached and implemented. And so now begins the flood of open records requests, the effort to shine some light on how an anonymous correspondent bullied the Cypress-Fairbanks School Board into submission without so much as a whimper. I have no idea what we'll learn, but I am highly confident that during the 2017 legislative session, the Cypress-Fairbanks School Board will again come through with evidence critical to one or more important bills. I wish God's blessings on each of you. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Vera. Our second speaker is Colleen Vera.
Good evening, Board. My name is Colleen Vera. I'm a retired Texas public school teacher who's lived in Cypher ISD for about 15 years. When I heard that my school board had replaced the traditional meeting invocation with a moment of silence, I wanted to know why. So I filed a request for public information. It appears this board received an anonymous email which included the Freedom from Religion Foundation's opinion that invocations at Texas school board meetings are unconstitutional, even though TASB says courts have not been consistent with their analysis. And without a board discussion or a board vote, the invocation silently went away. But invocations before public meetings have been a tradition in the United States since our founding. Congress opens with an invocation. Heck, they even have an office of the chaplain. In God we trust is our national motto. In God we trust is on our currency. The Texas legislature opens with an invocation. The State Board of Education opens with an invocation. The Texas Constitution preamble reads, "Humbly invoking the blessings of Almighty God, the people of the state of Texas do ordain and establish this Constitution." Read your own board policy, EHBK. During celebrating Freedom Week, students in grades 3 through 12 must recite the section of the Declaration of Independence, which includes that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator. Exceptions are given for students whose parents have an objection. No one is forced to pray at school, and having someone recite a general invocation to begin a school board meeting is not forcing anyone to pray. Cypress is a religious community. We have residents of all faiths. We have synagogues, temples, mosques, and churches throughout our entire district. Let the people of Cypress decide if they want an invocation before our school board meeting, not an anonymous emailer. So I'm asking you tonight to place the invocation on the agenda for your next board meeting, so the public may voice their opinions as well as hear arguments publicly, both pro and con, and hold a public vote of this board, so we know exactly where each one of our elected representatives stand on the issue. And if it comes to a legal fight, I ask that you fight, that you set an example for the students of our district. Instead of preaching anti-bullying, live it. Show our students how to stand up to bullies, how to stand up to the bullies who want to take invocations away from all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Vera. Our third speaker is Dan Comstock.
Start? Oh, thank you. And I thank God for the couple of minutes I get to speak here too. And I thank you, the board of Cypher. This is one thing I would just like to say, kind of short and brief. You got some attorney's advice. It was good in one respect. It protected us from the danger of the money that would be spent defending. On the other hand, it was actually very bad, and as good as it was, you should not follow it, in my belief. And the reason is because liberty is more fundamentally valuable than whatever it might cost us to defend it. If we do not defend it, we will lose it. And little by little, we are losing it. Someone who calls and threatens a lawsuit is committing extortion, because the threat was going to be given to 50 other independent school districts, as I understand it. That is extortion. We must not allow ourselves to buy into that. We must resist with all our might so that religious freedom is a fact in the United States of America. Remember the First Amendment, not extortion. Freedom, not caving in. And you are sitting in a very important spot. You are in a position where you can defend our liberties right on the front line. And I exhort you and ask you to do that very thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Comstock. Our next speaker, David M. Wilson.
President Mengoya, Dr. Henry, board members, I thank you again for the opportunity to have public comment. That is so important in the great country that we live in. When I attended the August Cypher ISD board meeting, it took me a while to realize that the Cypher ISD Board of Trustees had made a decision to replace the traditional invocation with a moment of silence. After the meeting, I was told about this unknown emailer, and actually today, I decided, well, I want to send him an email and so I could talk to him. As I was driving over here, he called me, and so I did talk to him, and he identified himself, even though his caller ID didn't say who he was. But I asked him if he was if he lived in the district. He replied to me he did not. I asked him if he represented the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which he referenced in the email. He said he did not. So I kind of asked him what his point was, and he said that he has actually taken this action with 50 school districts all across the state of Texas. So with that, I want to let the board know and make sure you understand that I provided the Cy-Fair ISD Legal Counsel with contact information about a national organization, the American Center of Law and Justice, which may be willing to provide a legal defense for Cy-Fair ISDs should anyone choose to file suit against the district. And I was disheartened to learn that no action had been taken on that information. I understand that Cy-Fair ISD is the largest school district in the state of Texas that had an invocation to start their board meetings. And this is part of a campaign to target Texas school boards. And it may not stop until every school board has stopped asking for guidance and direction from a higher power. So I'm calling on my Cy-Fair ISD school board to take up the mantle of all Texas school boards and fight this battle with the help of faith-based organizations that will provide legal assistance. With that, I'd like to offer my own prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask that you intervene in this spiritual battle against evil that would seek to displace you from every public place of our great nation. Give this Board of Trustees the guidance and direction that they need to make godly decisions for this community that they serve. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Our fifth speaker, Linda Natal.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to speak about the same things that the others have spoken about, and I'm in agreement with them. I would like to point out that when we pray, we're doing that to bring our Heavenly Father's Spirit here to guide you in the work that you do for the education of our children and the use of our taxpayer money for all of us together. If we don't have His direction, if we cut that off, then we can't expect to have His help. And I think we need it here. What we say are positive things for the board and for the students. And somebody who takes offense at that shouldn't receive more respect than we do. Those of us in this district feel that we would like to continue to have prayer. We always have. It is a tradition here, the same as it is in opening Congress. It can't possibly be against the laws of the United States because we are guaranteed in the First Amendment that there will be no law written by Congress to prevent us from having our freedom of religion. So to stop us from doing that would be a violation, and that would put us at risk of a lawsuit. When somebody outside the district can't have standing in this district, there is no threat of a lawsuit. So the only threat here is if we don't continue to have the prayers that we've always had so that we can guarantee the freedoms that we have a right to, guaranteed by God and guaranteed in our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our citizens' participation. We do have a couple of reports to hear tonight. The administration will provide a report on the 2016 STAR 3 through 8 end of course exams, state accountability ratings, and community and student engagement ratings. We have two presenters, Drs. Linda Macias and Ashley Claiborne. So let me turn that over to Dr. Macias.
Good evening, President Mengoya, board members, and Dr. Henry. Tonight we will present the board and the viewing audience with an overview of the 2016 STAR results, the state accountability results, and the community and student engagement results. I'd like to take a moment to thank our campus leaders, teachers, and curriculum team for for their hard work, dedication, and commitment to ensuring success for all of our students. You will find throughout our presentation that all campuses perform well and that we continue to make progress towards the goal and expectation that Dr. Henry has set for us to eliminate the achievement gap. Programs that the superintendent has charged us with, such as Camp Summit, Algebra Camp, the In the Middle Project, and the monitored school process, to just name a few, are certainly contributing to this goal. At this time, Dr. Ashley Claiborne will continue with the presentation.
To begin our presentation tonight, I will start by providing you with a brief overview of the STAR passing standards.
Test. To begin our presentation again tonight, I will start by providing you with a brief overview of the STAR passing standards. Before you now is a sample table of the 5th grade reading passing standards. There are 3 sets of STAR standards in every grade level and content area. The first is the advanced standard. This is the highest level of performance and is represented on the sample table with the blue line. This standard has not changed from the inception of STAR in the 2011-12 school year. The second is the final recommended standard. The state considers this the post-secondary readiness standard. This standard is identified with a green line. This standard has also not changed from the inception of STAR in the 2011-12 school year. The third standard is the satisfactory standard. This passing standard remained the same for 4 years, and of last year will now increase every year until 2021-22 when it reaches the final recommended standard. So what does all this mean? For our students in grades 3 through 8, their test standards will now increase each year until 2021-22. For our end-of-course testers, they will remain on the standard when they first started testing on an end-of-course exam. With that said, the data we will now display represent the first year the passing standard has risen since the inception of STAR. Before you now are data summarized by grades 3 through 8 for the 2016 STAR reading test. You will see data for the following student groups: all, Hispanic, African American, white, and economically disadvantaged. Cypher data are represented by the red bar, and the data for the state of Texas are represented by the yellow bar. As you can see, Cypher students outperform the state in all student groups. Math scores in grades 3 through 8 were also higher than the state in each of the student groups noted above. Writing scores in grades 4 and 7 were higher than the state in each of the student groups. Students in grades 5 and 8 were administered the STAR science exam. These students outperformed the state in each of the student groups reflected before you now. In grade 8, our students who took the Social Studies STAR also outperformed the state in each student group. Now we will turn our attention to the results of the end-of-course exams in Cypher ISD. The end-of-course data will depict results from students who took the exam for the first time in the 15-16 school year. We begin with the English 1 results. The scores before you now note the fact that Cypher students outperform the state in each of the student groups. The Cypher students who took the English 2 exam for the first time also outperformed the state. In Algebra 1, Cypher students continue to outperform the state. It is important to note that 38% of our 8th grade students took the Algebra 1 exam with a 99.9% passing rate. Those data are included before you now. First-time testers in Cyfair outperformed the state in biology. And U.S. history for our first-time testers also denote performance above the state level. Once again this year, our 5th and 8th grade students were given multiple opportunities to pass the Reading and Math STAR as part of the Student Success Initiative. However, due to ongoing reporting issues with the state testing vendor, TEA decided to eliminate the third administration of the Student Success Initiative and remove the student consequences attached to STAR testing for grades 5 and 8. Based on state guidance, promotion and retention decisions for students in grade 5 and 8 who did not pass the first or second administration of the Reading or Math STAR were made based on district policy. The data before you now depict performance on the first round of STAR, which is the red bar, and then the combined performance level after the second administration of STAR, which is the yellow bar. Please note the performance from the first administration to the second administration went up by 6 points for 5th grade reading, 9 points for 5th grade math, 5 points for 8th grade reading, and 10 points for 8th grade math. It is my pleasure to share with you that all of our campuses earned the highest rating, which is MET Standard, and that Winfern High School earned the MET Alternative Standard rating. Campuses and districts earned the MET Standard rating based on meeting index targets in the following areas: student achievement, or student progress, and closing performance gaps, and post-secondary readiness. As you can see, a campus or district could earn the MET Standard rating without meeting all 4 index targets. However, in Cyfair, each of our 82 regular campuses met all 4 index targets, and Winfern met their required targets in the accountability system. This is a remarkable feat considering the following: an increase in passing standards across all STAR 3 through 8 tests and end-of-course tests for first-time test takers, the new state testing contractor and subsequent issues with testing and reporting, an increase in the Index 2 target, and the inclusion of STAR Accommodated and STAR Alternate 2 in the accountability system. As part of the state accountability system, our campuses are also able to earn distinction designations. These distinctions note high levels of performance in the following areas: reading, English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies, as well as the top 25% in student progress, the top 25% in closing performance gaps, and post-secondary readiness. Campuses earning one or more of these distinction designations met rigorous criteria to earn the highest level of recognition in the state accountability system. Noted before you now are the number of distinction designations earned district-wide in elementary, middle, and high school. The data displayed before you now depict the district's performance as compared to the 4 other largest districts in Texas. The first column depicts the district name, followed by the total number of students enrolled in the district and the percent of economically disadvantaged students. Then you will see the 2016 District Accountability Rating, followed by the number and percent of campuses that met standard, and the number and percent of campuses that were rated improvement required. As you can see, once again this year, Cyfair is the largest district in the state of Texas, with all campuses meeting standard and no campuses rated improvement required. The data before you now are formatted similarly to the previous table. This table depicts the performance of Cyfair versus surrounding school districts. House Bill 5 requires school districts to evaluate the district's performance and the performance of each campus in the district on community and student engagement and compliance. The community engagement requirement is an opportunity for districts to demonstrate areas of excellence and success, as well as recognize areas in need of improvement and set future goals. It is important to note that this evaluation is separate from and in addition to state and federal accountability requirements. Campuses and districts are held accountable for state accountability, federal accountability, and community and student engagement accountability. Additionally, the evaluation will look different in each school district across the state of Texas because the evaluation is locally developed around a specific set of criteria. Depicted before you now are the first 4 areas in which we're required to evaluate ourselves: community and parent involvement, wellness and PE, 21st century workforce development, and second language acquisition. As required by law, campus ratings must fall into one of 4 categories: exemplary, recognized, acceptable, and unacceptable. Before you now are the number of campuses rated in each area. The next set of ratings include dropout prevention, digital learning environment, gifted and talented, fine arts, and compliance. Once again, we have depicted the campus ratings in each area. Before you now are the overall ratings for each campus in the Community and Student Engagement Accountability System. As we move forward in the case process for the 2017 school year, we will reconvene the case committee made up of campus and district administrators as well as parent and community members to reevaluate our process and set the targets for the 16-17 school year. We anticipate the committee will continue to set the targets, focusing on achievable yet challenging goals. The board and community members may access accountability and community and student engagement data by navigating to a campus website, clicking on About Us, and then clicking on School Ratings. As we move forward in the 16-17 school year, the district and all of our campuses will continue to analyze data as we work to develop the district and campus improvement plans. We will continue with our monitor school process, and we will continue the focus on first-time instruction using the standard expectations and on meeting the needs of economically disadvantaged students. This concludes our presentation for tonight. We would be happy to answer any questions from board members.
Thank you, Dr. Claiborne. Any questions? Mr. Ryan?
Ashley, thank you for that report. It was fantastic, by the way. And major kudos to our campuses across the board. It's unbelievable, really.
They deserve it.
The only question I had is, because previously, are the end-of-course exams, are they the true end-of-course exams? In other words, we don't have students, it used to be someone could move into chemistry and they'd be partway through the year and go, oh, wait a second, you've got to take that biology when you had that last year. Are they true? Are we at the point now where they are true end-of-course exams?
Yes, sir. In the past, we had grade level tests at high school where you may be a 9th grader, take a 9th grade math test, not taking into account what course you were in. But now they are definitely end-of-course exams that the students take at the end of the year that they take that specific course.
Okay, because I think that does provide a lot more clarity as to the comprehension of the student versus hitting them up the next year and saying, oh, remember when you studied this.
Exactly. They're testing at the end of that school year when they have that course.
I think this is fantastic, and it's a great reflection on our teachers, our administrators on every campus, and even the volunteers. I mean, on several campuses, you've got custodians that are pulled out to help the students. So this is really remarkable. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Covey?
Ashley, again, yeah, that's an excellent report. Thank y'all. And I know you and Linda and the whole group, y'all do a lot of work getting these campuses to the point where they are successful. I did have a question under the case ratings, and so maybe an explanation on that second language acquisition, why we had one that was unacceptable. Can you tell me about that?
The second language acquisition looks at several areas. One is areas in which students have an opportunity to engage in activities that are related to second language learning. However, the specific area that caused this one campus to be rated unacceptable was the number of students making at least 1 year's growth on TELPAS, which is the state assessment of English language learning and reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so we are working with this campus, our Department of English Language Learners is working with this campus to bring up those numbers of students that are making at least 1 year's growth in that area.
Is it a campus where we've got the new arrival center, or is it a separate campus?
No, it is not a new arrival center campus, Mr. Covey, but I will add that, as Dr. Claiborne said, we are focusing on that and looking how we can support the campus with their second language learners. But again, overall, that campus reached, I believe, the recognized level for CASE.
And I guess my one follow-up question, I'm sorry, because I know we've talked about this a lot, and that is when we have students for at least 6 months that their test scores improve. And because we didn't have the growth this last year that we've had in years previous, did that help our test scores, or maybe it didn't have anything to play with it? And then I was just wondering, because we do have transitional students that come into our district and leave. Mm-hmm. Where are we as far as that goes? Do we have any idea what percentage of students that we get and then they're gone?
A few years ago, we ran an analysis on that. We have not done that recently. We can definitely do that and provide that information to the board of looking at how long students stay in Cy-Fair and then their progress or their performance on STAR. We would be more than happy to provide that information to the board.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Dr. Ogletree?
Yes, for this school year, what changes do you expect in this STAR accountability? Will the standards rise again? And how much focus will be required on that of our teachers?
I'll let Dr. Claiborne answer about the increase, and then I'll answer the other question.
Mm-hmm. The STAR standards, the passing standards on every test in grades 3 through 8 will increase from now until 2021-22 once they hit that final recommended standard. So we're on an uphill climb. And then the end of course exams, the first time a student takes an end of course exam, their passing standards are set for them for the remainder of the tests that they take. So for instance, an 8th grader who takes Algebra 1 in the 15-16 school year, then they are required to pass the rest of their end of course exams at the 15-16 standard. But then a freshman who takes Algebra 1 in the 16-17 school year will have a brand new set of higher standards that they're required to meet for the remainder of their end of course exams.
And Dr. Ogletree, as Dr. Claiborne mentioned, the increase in the standards began last year. So these results are evidence of part of that increase. But to answer your second part of your question, we support the campuses on a regular basis, and we have a district curriculum, as you know, and district assessments that tell us where the campus is at and where we might need to provide some additional support. So we will continue monitoring that and supporting our campuses who need that additional support.
Dr. Ogletree, if I could just add to that, something that we think is going to have a definite impact and improve some of our campuses are some of the facility changes that we are making. In other words, we've made some internal construction designs that we think will enhance the learning on several campuses, and then, of course, our continued upgrade in your commitment and this community's commitment to all children, no matter where they live. Look at Bain and Dean and some of those that are going to have practically brand-new schools next year, and we know that has an impact on learning. So facilities is going to play a role in helping improve our results.
Any other questions? Mr. Jackson?
I have a number of questions, and these are unfair because I'm hitting you with them right now. You know, actually, I sent them to you all, I think, 10 minutes before the meeting, so if we have to push the answers off to the future, that's fine with me. First, have we ever achieved alignment between federal and state requirements on testing?
Not yet. We're working toward that. The state has not reached that goal yet.
And what is the primary area where we lack alignment?
One of the areas we lack alignment would be the required tests. The state requires us to test in writing as well as social studies, and the federal requirements do not require those assessments. That's one of the areas.
Did we ever get the differences ironed out where we have Cy-Fair has 8th grade students who are very aggressive taking Algebra 1, and there was a federal requirement that there be a 9th grade math test, and if you take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, that doesn't qualify for meeting the federal standard. Is there any movement at getting alignment between the state and the feds on Algebra 1?
We're hopeful that with the implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act at the federal level, that the state will be able to put something into place where students who take Algebra 1 at 8th grade, in 8th grade, will be able to take some type of other assessment, perhaps the ACT or the SAT at the high school level to count for their accountability requirement under the federal regulations. However, those decisions have not been made.
Okay. I would say when you take a look at the results, and you went through them very quickly, tremendous kudos to senior management, but also to campus management as well as staff on each of the campuses. When you take a look at the distinctions, to earn a distinction, you're measured against your cohorts. You have to be in the top 25% of your cohorts as one of the measuring qualities. And when you take a look at closing the achievement gap, that is tremendous work. That slide that you put together is just dynamite. And that is one of the primary goals of this district, and y'all are getting the job done. I can't emphasize enough the tremendous results that these test scores in aggregate show. Very impressive. Now for some of my truly unfair questions. Our colleague, Mr. Covey, is a director on the Gulf Coast Association of School Boards, and he invited us to go hear the commissioner for the state of Texas Education speak this past week, and the board was well represented, as you might imagine. The commissioner noted that his focus is on the higher standard that we used to call commended, that we now call advanced. And he suggested that there was a correlation between how students perform at the 3rd grade level, if they achieve it at the advanced level, and how they achieve at the collegiate level. Now, he did not include the magic words of saying statistically significant. So that would tell me this is an anecdotal observation. Mm-hmm. So the first unfair question, is that observation anecdotally consistent with what we see here in Cy-Fair? I do know from the information you have presented previously that Cy-Fair also outperforms significantly on the readiness standards. Mm-hmm. So I was curious, is there another benchmark that we can look at the 3rd grade level? Or is it somewhat invalidated because this district performs exceptionally well on a longitudinal growth basis?
Mr. Jackson, the college readiness marker that's used by the state now is a final recommended standard. That's what Ashley showed you. That's our final one. And we didn't pull that data, but we can certainly pull that data and look at it and then share it with you.
Thank you. And then, of course, when we pull the data, I would like to see it, if it's not too much additional work, to present it the same way as you do when you compare to our other yardsticks. Is it possible to split the school data between Title I and non-Title I campuses, perhaps in aggregate? Because that would address the concept of critical mass and whether or not critical mass has an impact on overall learning or not. I think that may be somewhat meaningful as the state legislature is moving us forcefully through the inappropriate standards of A through F.
We can pull that information for you as well, sir.
Thank you. Final question. Certainly, we all know that at the state level, technology impacted testing, and certainly for a very significant sub-pop group, it was well reported in the newspaper. Would you comment on the technology issues? And since we're going through a massive upgrade as well of our technology, did we have any local technology, or was it primarily the state technology issues?
Mr. Jackson, we did have a few issues with the technology with the testing, but it was not significant like it was in many other districts.
And it was not due to the Cypher technology, it was due to technology with the testing company.
TS issue, and so we did deal with some of that, but it wasn't anything that was major across our district.
Excellent, thank you. And once again, I want to repeat myself, there are some principals in here. Some have already shared with me some of their amazing results. I've gone to one campus visit already, and the individual campus results are simply amazing. So principals, thank you again, and please thank your staff, and I know you will.
We're very proud of them.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Macias and Dr. Claiborne, for an excellent presentation. We have a lot to be grateful for and excited about in Cypher. We have a second report. The administration will provide a report on the results of the communication survey, and Teresa Hull will be presenting that.
Okay, this evening we would like to provide you with the results of a survey that was administered during the spring semester. Basilise is a national firm that conducts public opinion survey research across the nation, and they do a lot of work with school systems in Texas, so they have a great reputation, and we contracted with their firm to conduct this survey during the spring. So this evening we would like to share the results of the survey with you. Okay. This slide provides you with just a little information about the random sample that was administered. We administered the survey electronically from April 14th through May 15th, late in the spring semester. And the goal for Basilise, I always say their name incorrectly, was to receive about 1,000 responses. And they felt that if they had 1,000 responses, with 800 being from parents, 200 from non-parents, they would have a lower margin of error and a high confidence level in the results that they received. The objectives of the survey you can see here. The objectives were to assess the general attitudes about the district, how information about the district is currently received, and how the respondent would prefer to receive information, and what they believe to be the biggest challenges and concerns facing CFISD. This slide just provides you with an overall view of the random distribution of the interviews. The survey company worked closely with our technology department to break down email addresses, because it was administered through School Messenger, to break down the zip codes and make certain that we were getting representation from all different areas of our district. So this slide was just representing that for you.
To begin with, one of the areas that they evaluated in the survey was asking the respondents about their access to internet and use of social media. And you can see from the blue representing our parents and the purple our non-parents, that the majority have access to internet on their cell phones and at home, and a slightly lower percentage have a Facebook account. This next slide represents the awareness level and feelings of our parents about our teachers, the district as a whole, the superintendent, and the Board of Trustees. As you can see, our parents have a high level of recognition and a very strong positive feeling about our teachers and the district at 91 and 92%. And the awareness level drops slightly to 62 and 46% for Dr. Henry and the board respectively. However, it's important to note that the data doesn't reflect an increase in a negative feeling, but just no opinion or never heard of. So this is probably reflective of the parents that were surveyed that may not be as engaged in the school district. This next slide represents the same information about our non-parents. Again, very strong recognition and feeling about our teachers and the district, and an increase in the recognition and feeling about the Board of Trustees with our non-parents. This slide represents the ratings of our parents. I knew y'all were going to do this. This slide represents the rating of our parents on different aspects of the district: academic standards, campus and classroom conditions, safety and security on campus, and financial accountability. As you can see, the green and yellow represent an excellent or good rating. So 81% of our parents rate our academic standards as excellent or good, 86% for campus conditions, 82% for classroom conditions, 82% for safety and security on campuses, and 67% for financial accountability. And again, that's a combination of the excellent and good combined. This next slide represents the same information for our non-parent respondents, with results indicating 77% for academic standards, 78% for campus conditions, 67% for classroom conditions, 72% for safety and security on campus, and 68% for financial accountability. Okay. The parents were also asked to rate the overall leadership in the district, including the superintendent, the board of trustees, administration, the quality of teaching, and the overall level of communication. Once again, the green and yellow represent a rating of excellent and good, and the dark purple on the very far right represents a rating of unsure. 84% of our parents rate the overall level of communication from the district as excellent or good, 82% for the quality of teaching, 70% for the overall level of leadership of administration. And note the increase in the unsure there. It's not an increase in the negative feeling, but an increase in the rating for unsure. 47% for the leadership of the board, with 1% unsure. 63% for overall leadership of the superintendent, with 26% unsure. And again, I stress that because it's not that there was an increase in a negative rating. It was an increase just in those that were uncertain about that. Now for our non-parents, you see 63% for overall level of communication, 75% for overall quality of teaching, 58% for leadership of administration, 56% for the Board of Trustees, and 57% for the superintendent. Okay, on this next two slides, you have two replacement slides at your place. We have corrected it on the PowerPoint, but I just want to have you reference the correct material. This slide illustrates how our parents are currently receiving information about the district. As you can see, the majority are receiving information from emails, pre-recorded calls, which is our school messenger system, information sent home with their child, the website, newsletters from campus, and text messages to their cell phones. It's important to note that the majority of our non-parents, 65%, this was interesting, say they receive their information about the school district from the local media. The next slide, the parents and non-parents were surveyed about how they would prefer to receive the information. Again, 96% prefer emails, 89% newsletter from the school, 86% text messages, and again, our non-parent respondents preferred the local media and the district website. This was interesting data, I thought, because if the respondent listed that they received their information by going to the website, they were then asked to respond or prompted to respond on how often they utilize the district website. So it was very interesting that 64 of our non-parents don't go to the website, but they had to answer that they use the website to get their information. So I'm not sure if that question was clear for the respondents. This survey also asked our parent respondents to respond to the question, do you feel welcome at your child's school? We are very pleased to share that 90% of the respondents said yes, they feel welcomed at their child's school. You can see 59 said strongly, feel welcome, and 31% somewhat, for a total of 90%. The next slide illustrates what the respondents feel are the greatest challenges facing the district. 43% of our parents and non-parent respondents feel our greatest challenge is growth and overcrowding, and next they listed student discipline at 33% and 29%. The survey also asked the respondents to rate the overall academic standards in the district as either about right, too high, too low, or unsure. 70% of our parents and 65% of our non-parents rated the academic standards as about right. Regarding financial management, 41% of our parents and 46% of our non-parents believe we manage our money as well as can be expected. 33% and 30% were unsure. And again, it's not that there was a negative feeling, a strong negative feeling. I think that's just lack of really knowledge and understanding about the financial management. One of the last survey areas focused on what the respondent believed was the biggest concern facing CFISD. You see that 35% of our parents and 42% of our non-parents said school funding was one of the greatest concerns, and the next was the academic achievement gap at 33% and 27%. The survey company noted the following key findings. The parents have a high positive impression of CFISD, the teachers, and Dr. Henry. They also felt it was important to note that parents rate various areas, such as the academic standards, at the high excellent end of the rating scale rather than at the lower end of poor. So that was really, there were several areas like that. More percentage rated it at the high than at the lower end. Another key finding was that our parents receive emails about the district and they prefer to receive information this way. However, a large percentage, 86%, prefer to receive the text messages, which I think that is increasing with our school messenger use and having more folks sign up to use that. The final finding is that growth and overcrowding is selected over quality of instruction or student discipline as the biggest challenge facing CFISD. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Do we have any questions? Is this the first time we've done this kind of survey, Mrs. Hall?
The first one that I'm aware of, I think maybe, probably 10 or 15 years ago. I think Bob Stein with Rice University used to conduct some surveys for the school district, but it's been a long time since we've utilized a survey company. And I'd also like to point out, there's a document that we shared with you also that we're not going to go through this evening, but it's the comprehensive communication plan that our communication department has developed that we thought we would provide to you so that you have information at your fingertips about how we communicate, how we try to work with our campuses in providing communication. So if you have any questions about that, we'll be happy to answer those as well.
Hey, I have a question.
Teresa, was there any thought about when you get, I actually got this survey and gave honest answers, which was big for me. Was there any thought in the survey to break the parents up according to where their child is at school? Did they offer that to us? In other words, if for Julie and I at the house now, we only have a high school student, versus those what made me think about it was feel welcome at the campus. We tended as parents to go more when the children were in elementary school to the campus versus at high school. Doesn't mean we don't feel welcome at the high school campus. We just didn't tend to go as much. Did they talk about breaking that down as far as?
No, it was not broken down that way. It was just, it's set at your child or your children's school. It just kind of lumped it all together. It was not, did not give you the ability to break it down by campus.
Okay. And then I know one thing that this won't show, just because we didn't do it that way, is that I know having a high school student left at the house, the students access Twitter and Instagram, especially when you're talking about school closures. They leave some very comical comments at times, but they do access those probably much more than the parents do, I would think. Christine will probably verify that.
I agree. That's where they find out everything.
Yeah. So, in our communications department, hats off to you guys. We have grown by leaps and bounds in this area over the past year. It's been amazing. So thank you guys. Y'all are doing a remarkable job.
Our social media presence has increased tremendously, and I would agree with that our students do access that probably more than parents for information, and I don't think we have any plans to change that. I think Joel is kind of the rock star out there on social media, especially with his coverage of all of our athletic events and other information. And then his work, I'll tell you, one of the things that I want to highlight this evening is also the work that Joel and the team has done with our high school journalism programs at the campus of helping them create that same presence out there and help build the communication at each individual high school. So there's a lot of good things that are going on to help improve our communication.
And Dr. Henry, this is a great reflection of you marketing our brand. You're doing a great job on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Covey?
Teresa, I love the report. That's great. And I'm actually going to take that to Go Public and show them what we're doing over here. But I was doing a follow-up question here, and just like you said, we haven't done this in a long time. I would hope we have planned to do this survey again and do a comparative analysis. Do you have that on?
I agree, and I think that we need to see if we're improving in those areas. I agree, and that we do have plans to do that. I don't know that we had talked about when the next survey would be administered, but it's really cost effective. It's not an incredibly expensive survey, especially when we're able to do it electronically. Initially, the firm wanted to do a telephone survey, but Ms. Ray and I really spent a lot of time talking to them about, we just didn't feel in our community that was going to be very effective because of the way we currently communicate, which was reflected in the results. So doing an electronic survey in the future is really realistic for us to continue to do. If Stuart will
Any
give
other
us money.
questions? Ms. Hartley?
Oh, I wanted to kind of echo what Mr. Ryan was talking about with maybe it depends on what age your child is and what school they go to. I think that goes along with the awareness of certain things that maybe as you have a child just in K-1, 2, you're not as aware of what's going on in the district or the board or the superintendent and stuff like that. So it would be interesting if they could group them maybe by age of children. And I agree with the kids use the Twitter and the Instagram and everything, but I appreciate my emails and my text messages and my phone calls that I get as a parent. And then was wondering just how did y'all reach out to the non-parents? I was just curious how.
That was their job. We didn't provide any addresses from our, like community messaging group, what do we call it? Key communicator list. Right. Actually, that was their job to find the random sample for the non-parents.
Well, I just think it's great to see what non-parents and parents are thinking, and I appreciate it. It's a great report. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Jackson?
This is not a question. I know that's kind of odd coming from this microphone, but a comment. Communications department over the past 3 years has continued to grow by leaps and bounds. And, I'm always hesitant to ever agree with my colleague, Mr. Ryan, but this makes it twice tonight that we have. Once again, a superb job. It goes hand in hand with the transparency accolades that Finance and Mr. Snow have received from the state of Texas, but the greater communication effort that we have with our community, both those who have children in the district, but just as importantly, the 2/3 that do not, is always significant. We may not always agree on everything, but it's always important that we communicate in the best manner possible. This is a topic that we actually discussed about 5 years ago of creating a feedback loop. And I find it very heartening that the district has moved sharply in this direction. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Thank you, Mrs. Hall. We're now at the point of our agenda for action items. During the course of the Committee of the Whole meeting last Thursday, it was the consensus of the board that the following action items be approved as submitted or amended. 5 action items consensus. A, the board will consider approving the tax refunds of $500 or greater for Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. And B, the board will consider approving the minutes of the August 18th, 2016 regular meeting. Then on Thursday, the following non-consensus items were placed on the consensus agenda. Action items non-consensus 6. A, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda items. 1, bleacher repair service and parts. 2, building security equipment and supplies. 3, college readiness and career interest test. 4, district fundraiser services. 5, grocery goods and supplies. 6, playground and outdoor equipment. 7, restaurant, catering, and delivery services. 8, spirit, apparel, and promotional items. D, the board will consider approving on first reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 1, BBG local board members, compensation and expenses. And again, I will mention that the board is not compensated, and this is making no change in that this is merely to talk about our expenses and how we turn in our expenses. 2, BJCF local superintendent non-renewal revision. 3, BQ local planning and decision-making process revision. 4, CLB local buildings, grounds, and equipment management maintenance revision. 5, DEC local compensation and benefits, leaves and absences. 6, EFD local instructional resources, field trips revision. 7, EHBAF local special education video audio monitoring revision. 8, FEB local attendance accounting. 9, FFC local student welfare student support services deletion. 10, FFH Local Student Welfare, Freedom from Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation, revision. 11, FL Local Student Records revision. 12, FM Local Student Activities revision. 13, FMG Local Student Activities travel. E, the board will consider approving on second reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 1, DGBA Local Personnel Management Relations, Employee Complaints and Grievances revision. 2, FDB Local Admissions and Intra-District Transfers and Classroom Assignments revision. 3, FNG Local Student Right and Responsibilities, Student and Parent Complaints and Grievances revision. F, the board will consider approving the granting of a temporary construction easement to Harris County for a driveway trench drain replacement at Aragon Middle School and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. G, the board will consider approving the CenterPoint Energy Houston Electric LLC blanket utility easement to provide electrical services for elementary school number 56. Now, if any board member wishes at this time to remove one or more items for further discussion, please do so. Any removals? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consensus items as recommended or amended. Dr. Ogletree?
Madam President, I move that the board approve the consensus items as recommended or amended.
May I have a second?
I second.
Discussion? Hearing none, may we have a vote? If you agree, signify by raising your right hand. The motion carries unanimously. That brings us to the action items non-consensus. B, the board will consider adopting an order authorizing the issuance of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building and Refunding Bonds, Series 2016, levying a tax and providing for the security and payment thereof, providing for the award of the sale thereof in accordance with specified parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase contract, a paying agent or registrar an agreement, and an escrow agreement relating to such bonds, approving the preparation of an official statement and enacting all provisions relating thereto. We did have a presentation about this item on Thursday. May I have a motion on this?
Madam President, I move that the board adopt an order authorizing the issuance of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building and Refunding Bonds, Series 2016, levying a tax and providing for the security and payment thereof, providing for the award of the sale thereof in accordance with specified parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase contract, a paying agent, registrar, an agreement, and an escrow agreement relating to such bonds, approving the preparation of an official statement and enacting other provisions relating thereto.
Do I have a second, please? Second, Ms. Hartley. Is there discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those that agree with the item, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item number C, the board will consider the 2016 tax rate resolution to support the 2016-17 maintenance and operations and debt service budgets by setting the 2016 M&O and interest and sinking tax rates. We again had a presentation on this on Thursday. May I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board adopt the 2016 tax rate resolution to support the 2016-2017 maintenance and operations and debt service budgets by setting the 2016 M&O and interest and sinking tax rates at $1.04 and .40 respectively.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Dr. Ogletree seconds. Is there discussion on this item? Seeing none, if you agree, please signify by raising your right hand. That motion also carries unanimously. That brings us to H. The district will consider a Level 4 appeal, Fleming, of a Level 3 decision. May I have a motion, please?
No, I just
Hartley,
said
go.
something.
I'll do it then. I move that the board uphold the level 3 decision made by the administration.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Kobe seconds. Any discussion on this item? Ms. Hartley?
President Mongoya, as I was not in attendance for the closed session on Thursday evening, I will be abstaining.
Thank you, Ms. Hartley. Mr.
I will
Ryan?
also be abstaining.
Thank you both. All right, so we are going to have 2 abstentions on this. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other further discussion? If you agree with the motion, please raise your right hand to signify that agreement. All right, the motion carries 5-0 with 2 abstentions. All right, that brings us to the last item on our agenda, the superintendent's briefing portion of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam President, Board of Trustees. Every year, we try to provide you a student enrollment comparison from the year before. As of September 1st, 2016, the district student enrollment was 114,347. That's 1,194 students compared to last year on September 1st, and that number has already grown, and we expect we'll pass 115,000 students sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. More than 4,200 guests attended the 4th annual CFISD Back to School Expo on August 13th at the Berry Center, a record attendance for the one-stop shop for resources for incoming students, parents, and prospective employees. And I have to add a little something there. I would certainly appreciate all of our local businesses who helped make that day successful. And in all honesty, Leslie Francis said we had a lot more that want to be involved next year, so that's going to continue to grow. And certainly what a wonderful community we live in where our local businesses want to give to the children of this school district. Families, caregivers, charities, and research groups across the United States observe September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. 15,780 children under the age of 21 are diagnosed with cancer every year. Approximately 1/4 of them will not survive the disease. The objective of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is to put a spotlight on the type of cancer that largely affect children, survivorship issues, and most importantly, to help raise funds for research and family support. Help us bring awareness of childhood cancer to the community by wearing gold during the month of September. Approximately 400 community volunteers, nearly 100 more than the previous year, assisted new bus riders and drivers in the 10th annual CFISD Bus Buddies program during the first week of school. Bus Buddies rode CFISD school buses from 2:45 to 4:45 for the first 2 days of school to ensure students were safely transported to their proper drop-off points. And if you've never done this before, I think you'll find it more satisfying to you than the kids. But on top of that, unlike those of you who are my age, all our buses are air conditioned now. So you don't have to roll the windows down and drive 45 to get cooled off. Members of the Town Lake Homeowners Association visited Anthony Middle School in August to make the surprise announcement that the community would be the school's new Adopt-a-School partner. CFISD's Adopt-a-School program pairs schools with community and business partners to utilize the resources of the community to strengthen and enrich the quality of education for students. Nearly 50 CFISD business partners showed their support for Cypress-Fairbanks ISD by participating in the Business Partner Expo, at the CFISD Annual Leadership Conference, and the New Staff Orientation at the Berry Center in August, with the 2016-17 school year theme, CFISD for All. The Leadership Conference featured performances by the Cypress Woods High School AFJROTC, Jersey Village High School Pep Band, CFISD combined. That was a tongue twister. The Cy-Fair Educational Foundation will host the 19th Annual Salute to the Stars Gala on October 13th at the Berry Center. The Black Tie celebratory event will honor 87 CFISD Spotlight teachers from 2015-16, one from each district. Following a 20-year run as CFTV, Channel 16, the Cypress-Fairbanks ISD television studio is rebranding as CFISD Cinema in the 2016-17 school year. The name change comes under the new leadership of Dave DeJean, Director of Media Technology. And before I turn the microphone over to Ms. Mongoya, I'd just like to, just a little personal shout out. My parents actually live up in Northeast Texas, but, through the beauty of the internet, they pull up these board meetings sometimes, which tells you they don't have enough to do. But,
Make sure you still got a job.
yeah, not many people have the opportunity to have their hero with them 56 years later. And today my dad is celebrating this month my dad is celebrating his 65th year as a minister. And I think that's a pretty amazing accomplishment. But when I think back of growing up with my father and then observing him over the last 56 years, it's never anything he said that sticks with me. It's the way he lived his life. He lived his faith by what he did, not by what he said. And these trustees up here, I appreciate the lives you live, and on a daily basis that you represent this community, represent your families, and represent your faith as well as you do. So thank you for giving me a home away from home.
Well, thank you, Dr. Henry. That's lovely, and congratulations to your dad.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We need to have him come down and, meet us all.
He'll tell you stuff. I don't live up to his standard.
Well, this concludes our meeting. We appreciate your attendance. Even though our room is not as full as it was in the beginning of the meeting, we still appreciate your attendance, and we look forward to seeing everybody either here or on the TV channels next month in October. Thank you very much.